do,
Okay.
get to the, I need to demonstrate the point I just made about
Shape.
shape, yes. There you go. So I have an image here that I'm going to quickly paste in Photoshop. And just wanted to, in an effort to demonstrate my point, I'm just going to kind of quickly mask it out and just want to get rid of the background color for a second. I'm not going to be exactly perfect with it because we don't have all the time to silhouette it perfectly, and just enough to make a point. So I think this will do it. We have an idea of what this is. So I can decide to say, for instance, change the color of this object. And if I did, I can fill it, preserve my transparency, which is the transparent area around it, and decide to fill it with that color. You probably could see the shape of it and say, well, no, that looks like it looks like a car. But you can also tell that what defines it, what really defines it as a car, as a vehicle, is missing. We have the basic shape of it, but the tones are gone. You have a solid color that just gives you an outline, but the tones are gone, right? However, if I decide to fill it this way, keeping my tones, okay? In this sense, I'm going to rock the tone with color. So I still have the vehicle, right? The car is there, but now you see what defines it. The tone defines it. I can rock any color around this. All right, so you can change any number of colors, and as long as the tone is maintained, we can keep rocking color around this, the tone, and basically maintain its true shape. It is very important that during the point of capture, we were able to grab as much as possible the tones within an image. Nature presents us with an infinite number of tones. Whatever scenery that we point a camera at to shoot from, it presents us with an infinite number of tones to define an image. the eye is able to capture as much of it as possible. But we all have our difficulties, our problems, our shortcomings when it comes to seeing what nature presents. We can see only so far, but it is the best out there as far as capturing what nature presents. Various input devices that you have out there, your cameras or your scanner or whatever it is that you use to try to capture images, don't fare as well as the eye does. They always fall short. They do not capture the range of tones as far as the eye, as well as the eye would capture. The challenge that we have as people in the reprographics business is to try as much as possible to capture all the tones, or possible, using the device that you have. So whatever device you have will have an impact on what you capture. That is the first step. If you were to capture this image and you didn't quite capture all the tones, you could, with a really bad image, you could end up with what you saw earlier, where it's a solid that only defines the outline, and you miss certain detail. If you have a very, kind of medium device that can capture maybe 50-50 of the tones, you're missing some detail. So it's really, really important that the capture point be integral. It has to be very, very important, be forefront of this process.
That's what I was, when you went out to the room, I kind of touched on what you're explaining as far as capturing, and it's also, you can word it as range, the amount of range that you want to try to achieve. And as you're still looking at, we're not really talking color yet, we're talking tonal range. And based on what Francis was saying, the device that you're using, for instance, like I say, a camera can capture the density range of an image to 3.7 to 4.0. And as we continue to go on with the PowerPoint presentation, as a printer, we can only capture half of that. So you'll see where we go from gamut to gamut to gamut to the end result, and see how much information that you will be losing in the beginning state of what you might have started working with to the printing state. And this is pretty much giving you an understanding of the reproduction of color, reproducing color
and
tones from a continuous tone or density to printing and dot. So you want to continue.
So if your task was to capture a certain image, a scene, you have a camera, for instance. You point your camera and you shoot, that image. That is a copying process. It's a reprographic, process. We may not think about it that way, but what you've done is made a copy of nature. That scene, you've captured it. How well do you do it? Well, it depends on how you set your camera. How was your camera set? What was the resolution and all that, right? Will determine your lighting. Photographers spend a lot of time making sure the lighting is right and whatnot, because it will impact what you capture. Okay, without the proper lighting and whatnot, your capture point will not be as efficient. You will be, your image will not have all the tones needed to do the job that you're setting out, to do. So that's the challenge that we have. If you took that picture and you didn't capture all the tones, then your job is to display it on your monitor. Well, the monitor also has its own range. There's only so much that the monitor is going to display. It doesn't have the capacity of the human eye, which in itself falls short of what nature displays, right? So your monitor can only display so much, but you're going to try to make an attempt to adjust what you see on your monitor. If it's not telling you the truth, if you really are not seeing all the detail, right? One, you took the picture, it was short, but even what you took may not be displayed fully on your monitor, so you're short again because the monitor is an output device. It's actually printing on the screen what it is that you captured on using your camera, right? Then from there, you're going to try to print it out. Well, that's another step. So our whole process is, copy, 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 copy. And in the course of doing that, each level, you're losing detail. You're losing information from one step, to the other. So if you're gonna lose, steps, then you can see that it's really, really important that you know what it is that you're doing, so you can capture as much information as possible. Because no matter what you do, you just have to understand, it is integral to your trade. You're going to lose information. There's nothing else you can do. Okay? You can control what happens, knowing all that's out there, so you can control what happens. Okay? And some of that information is what Steve talked about. Density. Nature presents its density from the whitest white to the darkest dark. Your camera has its range. It says, well, I can't get all that. I can fit over here. Your monitor also says the same, depending on your profile and all that. We'll talk about it. It says, I can only display this much. All the way up to the point where you're going to put ink on paper, toner on paper. The ink itself, and also the paper, the interaction there also falls short. Okay, that will also fall short. So the question is, what are some of the issues that you will face when you're putting, for us, it's ink on paper. What are some of the issues you will face? Density. The density range will be very short. You will not have the full range. You will not have the full range, depending on the type of paper you're using. Paper is different, and the paper company will explain to you. The characteristics of the paper would impact how you treat the density range that you capture. Are you printing on coded paper, for instance? Is that information that you capture going to go on uncoded paper? Is it newsprint? Because each one of them has its own characteristics. Some paper, they're more absorbent than others. Inks. Ink viscosity. Some inks spread out and blot into the paper more than other papers, more than other inks, excuse me. Right? So ink to paper interaction is also very important. How will my ink interact with this type of paper? Knowing that, you will have to treat your tones, your precious tones, knowing the destination point. What am I going to do with this image? Once I've captured it, or maybe at the point of capture, what am I going to do with it? What's my destination? Okay, so you can optimize your image for that particular substrate, for that particular process that you're about to embark on. Okay, so if I have the image that I captured is going to appear in a newspaper, and the same image will appear in the magazine. Oh, by the way, while we're at it, we may have to make a t-shirt with that image. Each and every one of these is a different destination. Textile receives things differently, or receives inks differently. Your gloss paper will be different, which may be your high-end magazine, and your newsprint, which is essentially, close to tissue paper, because if you take a drop of water and you drop it on there, what does it do? It spreads out, right? It gains. Okay? So once you know this, we need to be armed with information so that we can prepare the image correctly, so we can get the range that will be able to represent what we're trying to put out there. Okay, because if you use the range for the wrong substrate, your image is not going to come out right, irrespective of how well your color, looks. You can do all the color stuff you want. If you don't capture the right range and prepare it for the right surface, and on and on and on, you're setting yourself up to fail.
I'm sure